Good, we got it. Okay. Okay, I like to pick up from last week. There's the last leg of this mitzvah of Chilul Hashem. The Ram says there's three parts, and he does the same thing not only here in Minyan HaMitzvos, he does it in Igeres Hashmad and also in Mishnah Torah. And he adds a few things in other place. Here, it basically limits it, or not limited, because the Rambam's not interested in telling you all the dinim over here, but he limits it. It could go no, the Shakila Bisra, the Beit Tafcho, Lo Yehim the Demela Alte, I don't give the money immediately, or Rabbi Ploni, Omar, could go no, and I think, he's very careful to say Rabbi Ploni. I'm not sure exactly. I have to go through various times. He says he's not interested in see. It's interesting. In Mishnah Torah, he said he's not interested in who said what. He's interested in the din, and we have to ask us, whether in Sefer HaMitzvos it is like that or not like that. Whatever it is, for here for some reason, another place he quotes Tanoim, but he says Rabbi Ploni, Omar. Kagona no, this misagna the Arba Ames, belay tefillin, belay Torah, belay tefillin. Okay, it's a Chilul Hashem without walking down the Ames without Torah tefillin. Say it. And then in other places he talks about the Chilul Hashem, and that's a very important thing. Interpersonal skills of an Adam Choshev is that Kilu Adam Choshev has to have interpersonal skills. And if he doesn't, or he doesn't act with the interpersonal skills that he has, then it's also Chilul Hashem. He speaks Bereges, Babuz, the Loshen in he has like this. He goes in the this is Adam Choshev shiny. And in Igeres Hashmad, he has a second category, a second subcategory. The first is Adam Choshev, who doesn't act, I guess, Lifnei Mishus Adin. And the Sheni, Shehei Adam Chochom, Misnagim B'nei Adam Hanoga B'chusa U'Klu'ura B'mikchoy Memkoroi U'Masoro Matonoi, where he's interacting with people. The Kabel B'nei Adam B'kas U'Bizoyin. He acts without a Kovra Brius. V'lo Tiadaita Murevis Im Abrius. V'lo Yeh Im B'nei Adam Misnaig B'midos Yikolois V'Agunois. Hine Zeh Kva Chilul Es Hashem. V'chein Omu Aleim HaSholom B'zman Shodem Kore V'Sheine V'eino Noisei V'Noisei Be'emuna V'ein Diburoi B'nachas Im Abrios Ma Abrios Oimois Olov Oiloi Leploni Shalom Atera. Oiloi Leploni Shalom Atera, and that's Chil the Ryan. In Hilchos say that Torah, but he adds something there. In Perik A, Halacha Yud Aleph. V'yesh dvorim acherim shehein b'chlal Chilul Hashem v'hu sheya'aseh oisam odom godol b'Torah u'mefusam b'chsidus. I'm not sure if it's Vav Mechabe or Vav Mechalek, if it's one of the two or both. She'abriyos merane nachrov b'shvilo, and that caused him to talk about the talk of the town, like Chiddush, talk of the town, that he walked out of Amos without filling, or he walked out of Amos without Torah. V'afal pi she'ein averos ha'izeh Chilul Hashem to go in shelokach ve'enoisin tmei amekach la'alter v'hu sheyesh lo v'nimsa moichem tovim v'hu makifim. And I guess people know that. Oh, now the second category. This category we don't have yet. Oh, sheyal be'bischok ba'achila u'shisia etzel amir oretz u'beinehen. So I think what this means is too much laughter or achila mufrezet or shimuch. I think it's indicative of not the mitzua, the emsamida emsoy, and the fact that he doesn't act with midas emsoy in front of Amir Oretz. If he do the same thing in front of other chachomim, no. But if he does it in front of Amir Oretz, then it's a problem. See, when it comes to shuk, so everyone knows. But the eating and drinking, I'm not sure exactly how you know things, because the walking Dalar Amos without Torah or without film, that's not from Shzarabim, I guess in his house, it's okay, because people see. Oh, Shidiburoi imabriois einoi benachas. That's the second category, which is quoted in Igeres Hashmad. The Eino Makablim besave upon him Yofos. He doesn't smile. Interesting. He doesn't smile when he's talking to them. Ella balktota v'kas ukiyetzi b'dvorim u'elu hakol lefi godol shel chochom tzorch sheyidaktek al atzmo v'yaser lifnim mishuas adin. So each chochom, according to his godless and Torah, he's mechuyev to act accordingly. And if not, it's a chil Hashem. So that's, I think I mentioned this last week. I mentioned a little bit more clearer now or whatever. But the problem is the Ram opens up this mitzvah and says that Chil Hashem is the opposite of Kiddush Hashem. So what you'd expect is, as you see in Igeres Hashmad and also in Mishnah Torah, that there are three categories of Chil Hashem and the three categories of Kiddush Hashem. And the same way that you'll find that the Meshumad Lahachis is Chil Hashem, or that the Chochum doesn't act properly is Chil Hashem, you can have a parallel case, which is Kiddush Hashem. So here, let's go. Like this. The Ram Yisrael Torah in Perikei Halacha Yud and Yud Aleph, v'chein kol haperish me'avera or osa mitzvah lo mipnei dovo bo'olam lo pachad v'lo yira v'lo levakish kovod el b'nei haborei baruch hu. He does a mitzvah l'shem borei. He's perish men avera l'shem borei. Kiminias Yosef hatzadik atzmoi me'eshes raboy. See, here's a big chiddush. I'm not sure. Let me say it like this. I'm not sure. Others, will call it the chasdish. I'm just saying. I'm not sure that being perish from an avera, because when we talk about averas, at least the way I'm not mistaken, the Bahag sets it up is we do a mitzvah l'schar. You don't do l'shem schar, but when you don't do an avera, you menei yourself an einish. Not doing an avera is a kiyum. We don't know that. Okay. However, being perish from an avera only because of the Rabbeinu Shalom, there's a kiyum of Kiddush Hashem. That's what's happening over here. It says, "V'chein kol haperish me'avera, or yasa mitzvah." In the first case, is perish me'avera. Lo mibnei dovav bo'olam, lo pachad, v'lo yira, v'lo vakish kovod, el b'nei haborei baruch hu. Kiminias Yosef hatzadik atzmoi me'eshes raboy. Eich e'eseh. Harizeh mekadesh es Hashem. V'chein, im dikte HaChacham al atzmoi, v'hoye dibura benachas, im abriyos, v'daita murevis imohen, u'mekabel b'seiv upon him yofos, mineh elav mehem v'in olvom, and they love him, mechabed lohen v'in ol mekilim, so an elav v'in ol, that's a kiddush Hashem. V'noisem be'emuno, v'lo yarbe ba'arichos ame oretz v'shibosam. Here, I just want to say, I'm confused, okay? And this is just a side comment, and it's a complete diversion. You see, I wasn't sure what the problem of the Chacham with the Amoritz is. And the way he phrases it, when he talks about what he shouldn't do, you get the impression that it's Midas, because he's talking about below Yabe B'schait, or B'achilu B'shisiya, Eitz Amoritz. And here I'm not sure, below Yabe B'arichus, Ame Ha'oretz Yeshivosam, it doesn't say that he's eating too much, or he's drinking too much, or he's rolling or laughing with the Amoretz. It's just that he's surrounded with the Amoretz, and it almost sounds like the Dine Prishus that a person should keep away from Amoretz and not to be influenced by them. That's the whole idea, according to the Rambam, of Prishus, of Chulin Betara, Taras HaKodesh, Taras Truma, to be not to be influenced by Amoretz. That's what it sounds like over here. So I'm not sure. It seems to be a look back and forth. I'm not sure whether the problem is that he's not acting properly in front of the Amoretz, or he's just he's too much. He's became one of the boys. No, became one of the boys. That's the issue. I'm not sure. Okay, v'lo yira tomid elo oisek batero otuf betzitzis muchter betwillen otuf betzitzis muchter betwillen v'oise b'chol ma'asor b'tnim b'shuas adin. It's across the board. V'hu shelo yisrachek arbe v'lo yishtoime ad sheyimsu hakol mekalsinoise v'oivim oisai u'misavim b'ch lema'asor. See, the question is this each act in singularly, or it's the whole compact of doing everything together? Because he says this, and he dictate, and he does this, and he does that, and he says, ad sheyimsu hakol mekalsinoisai v'ohevim oisai u'misavim lema'asov. How is a kiddush Hashem? V'olav akosav oimer v'yomer li avdi ato Yisrael asher b'cho espoyer. So I'm not sure, you see, and when it comes to Viperesh from an Aveira L'Shem Boiroi, that is that one-time act itself, that itself is the Kiddush Hashem. When it comes to the Kiddush Hashem, it seems the whole conglomerate is necessary. And that I think is interesting, just to just this observation. So I'm not sure it's the opposite, because when it comes to it's not, it's not parallel. That you would and when it comes to he walks without tzitzis or tefillin, or he walks without tail, whatever it is that by itself is Chil Hashem. But the Kiddush Hashem is everything, Brios, and the way he acts with the way he's medactic and mitzvahs, and and the way he interacts in interpersonal relationships, and he's misachik from Yeshiva Sameoritz. Okay, that's the what he's presenting over here in Mishnah Torah. Okay, now when it comes to Geras Hashmad, he goes like this. Ukdush Hashem hu hepech chil Hashem. The same idea. V'zeh she'odem shi'aseh mitzvah and mitzvahs v'lo ya'avim kavona min ha'kavonos el avas Hashem yis'ala v'avodas levad. Which I think what he's doing is he's touching on Perek Yud of Hilchos Tshuva. That doing mitzvahs l'shem Hashem, not from Yira, but from Ava, that's kilu the tachlis of asiyas mitzvahs. Hine u'kiddush Hashem barabim, k'moi kein im yishmu mimenu shmuos tevos, kiddush es Hashem, k'mo she'omru, more Yuma, Bisman Sheodam Koy, Vishane, Mishamis Hamachomim, Umaso Matin Abrius, Ma Abrius Imris Olov, U Kamanoim Drochov, Kam Bisukonamas, of Olokos of Ime, Vayemeli Avdi Ato, Israel, Asher Bochoes Poer. And there it's one thing. It's not everything. Kamo came Odom Godel. כשיים לעצמו מן עניונים שהם מחוברים, קידוש השם, כמו שאומר, ולזוס פוסיים הרחיק ממך. Okay. It says, I'm not sure, in Mishnah Torah, I got the impression it's the whole conglomerate, everything together. In here, it's mashma, each one separate. So now, but the problem is, what's happening to the Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvos, where in the Mitzvah Kiddush Hashem, the only discussion in Mitzvah Tes is only about Yehovah. So I'm not sure how bad this is. See, the Gemara in Yuma, Gesandi v'aftas Hashem Elokecha, shehei Odom, shehei Shem Shomayim misahev al yodcha, shehei Korei v'sheine u'meshamish tamei chachamim, v'hei masol matono benachas im abriyos, Ma b'yis oimus olav, ashrei oviv shalom de Torah, ashrei rabbi shalom de Torah, oy lehem lebriya shaloi lim de Torah, koloni shalom de Torah, v'ol kanom ma'asav, kam mesukonim ma'asav, all of a course of oimer v'yomer li avdi ato, yisrael b'cho espoil. Okay. So I could have said, I would have put this in the mitzvah of Avos Hashem. That the Ram says, for example, Avos Hashem, Avela Abriyos, that are Komoy Avrom, that brought people Tachas Kanfi Hashchina. If you act in a way that everyone says, oh, Kazeh Reva Kadesh, it's not necessarily Kiddush Hashem, but your Ma'ayev HaKodesh Baruch Al Abriyos. So I could have imagined it's a Kiddush to say that's Kiddush Hashem. So this in itself, so then maybe that's where the Ram is coming from in Sefer HaMitzvos. The problem is Yosef HaTzadik, because the Gemara in Sefer, in two places says that it's Kiddush Hashem when he's Perish Mavei Lishma. That is Kiyum Kiddush Hashem. The Gemara in Sefer Yerome Beis. Omer Shimon Chasida, Yosef Shekidush Shem Shamayim B'Sefer Sefer, Zocha Hoisifu Lo Ois, Achas Mishmo Shel HaKadosh Baruch. The Gemara base says the Maisi is Kiddush Hashem. So, the other case, you can say, no. But here, l'cheira, this case, the second case, to be Perish from an Averu Lishmo, the Gemara statement Fush, that it's Kiddush Hashem. So here, if you want to, you could say that it's tam only a drosha. The question is why they were moisif on ois. It's Kiddush Hashem, but kilu that's chat and posik, and it's an emes Kiddush Hashem, and it's pshuta shel mikra. Echveis. Well, the mice is that's whatever it is. The Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvos only talks in the midst of Kiddush Hashem Yod Vayavo, and Mitzad Sheni. See, the interesting case is Mitzad Sheni. He says in the beginning of the Lav here, he says that the Chil Hashem is the opposite of Kiddush Hashem. So I just want to say it's not enough. It's not enough just to say there's no raya from the Gemara, because everything the Ram says here before that it's parallel. So, you see, but I could have imagined the parallel is only if you understand that it's actually parallel. If a person is Yehog Val Yavo, or he's not Yehog Val Yavo. If he's Yehog Val Yavo, it's Kiddush Hashem. If he's not, it's Chil Hashem. Okay? But in the other two cases, I don't know if you have the opposite case in the way you understand it. So what? It's the case of Chil Hashem that the Gemara has, or that the Ram has, the Chil Hashem, is that he's a Meshumad Lahachis. So is it true? The opposite is that he does Mitzvah L'Shem Boirei. That's the opposite, that's Lahepech. I'm not sure that that's true, okay? So, and here, if he's medaber bekasim abriyos, I can understand that's Chil Hashem, okay? But is it necessarily true that he speaks nicely the way he should speak? Menachzim abriyos, that's Kiddush Hashem. So you can say maybe, if everyone is Messiah of the Meister, so Ram adds the whole story over there. Not that she walks into, not that he does this, but he does everything, and everyone it says, "Wow, that's the way people should act." So I'm not sure exactly how you decide what the opposite is and how it plays itself out. I'm just very confused. I pointed out the Ram in Sefer HaMitzvos doesn't have it, and he has it both in the Igeres Hashmad and in Mishnah Torah. Now, let's finish this mitzvah. And then the Ram does something very interesting. He quotes another pasuk, and we have no clue what this pasuk is. He quotes it, "Nichpal lav zeh, v'omar lo yisachalo es shem Hashem Elokecho ani havaya." A pasuk. So, what he's basically saying is this pasuk. He says zenichpal, so it means this pasuk loisachal eshem Hashem Elokecho ani havaya is a ashara, and you could have had the ashara loisachal eshem the loischalu of this law, or he could have had loischalu Hashem Hashem Elokecho ani Hashem. Could have been either one. Here, one could have taken the Rambam to task. And I think there's no reason for the Ramban to be masik, because it's not negeya whether it's a nichpal or not a nichpal. It's not negeya to me in HaMitzvos. and the Sogas Ramban are basically about the minion. And here there's no nafkamina. The question is whether it's a nichpal or not. And the Ram says, it shows chi, wherever it's nichpal, it's a lav chom. Okay, so the mashmos, I think, of the Ramban is that lo yisachala Hashem Elokecha ani avaya is not an ashora, but it's a shlila. Because the pasuk says, "Umizaracho lo yisitein lahavi lamolech." And if you will do that, you will be machal Hashem. And if you don't do that, umizaracho lo yisitein lamolech, then you will not be machal Hashem, but machal Shem Elokecha. If he's moineh himself from mimav b'ro lamolech, then he won't be machal Hashem. Let me read the Ramban. The Ramban in Vayikra Yud Ches Chaf Aleph, v'hiske bo chil Hashem, ki kasher yishmu agoyim, shekibed es hamoilech b'zaroi, v'yakel v'behemtoi, korban Hashem, like to the Boilech Shemi just gives a behemoth. But to the Boilech, he gives his son. Ki yishmu agoyim shekibed es hamoilech b'zaroi, v'yakel v'behemtoi, korban Hashem, uchil Hashem. V'hu v'zeu she'oma hanovi v'gam es b'neihem asher yivoldu li hevidu lehem leoch. So, you could claim that Mizachol Isita Lamoilech, Havel Lamoilech is an Isa, and by doing that Isa, there's another, you should not do it because you'll be Machal Hashem. Okay, say that. Maybe it's an Ashol. But I just want to tell you one thing. Even if you say it's an Ashol, and you just say it's not a Shalila, the question is this an Ashol about any mitzvah, or it's an Ashol about Avodah Zarah? And a priori, it's an Ashol only about Avodah Zarah, not by Shara Beres. And it's clear for the Gemara Sanhedrin Ayin Aleph from an Aleph. The Gemara says, Sovalo Kavur Diomar Oinchin Minadin. The Asya Shabbos Bechilu. Chilu Me'avodah. The Asya Shabbos Bechilu. Chilu Me'avodah Zorah. The Rashi says, what's Chilu? Avodah Zarah, the lav of Leisachalil, Nemo Lagabe Avodah Zarah of Moilech. And there's also Psik the Zutrasa in Lekach Teiv, Vayikra Daf Lam Nun Aleph Mebeis, Leisachalil Shem Elokecha, Melamed Shetumas Avodah Zarah. So, I wouldn't assume that it's a kefil if it's only limited to Avodah Zarah, because the Leisachalil is on all Averis, the lav of Achil Hashem. So that's what I'm not 100% sure about this. I don't, if I'm not mistaken, in Mishnah Torah, it's not mentioned. And it's a chiddush here, and I'm not sure if the Rishonim would agree or the Ram himself agrees in Mishnah Torah. Okay. Next. HaMitzvos or Arba V'Shishim. Hishet Tzivono. Now, here's a very interesting mitzvah, as Hora. That the pasuk says X, and the Ram seems to interpret it as Y. And I'll tell you what I mean. The pasuk says, Lo yisnasu es Hashem Elokechem. kashenisisem b'masa. So is the nisoyon to Manasseh God is to Manasseh God, okay? But the Ram doesn't say that. It's kilu to Manasseh the Novi. She is hilnu Manasseh's Yehuda v'yichulav. We'll see what that means. Yis'aleh, those things which he promises. We'll see more about that. Sheyiyadu v'yichalu aisonu bohem nevio. So it's those promises to make the Novi outside Shirisapik bohem, because he's mesupik about either the Novi or the Dvar Hashem or something like that. Outside Shirisapik bohem. Achar sheneda amitas nevuas hanovi. One is allowed to be a scoffer, and probably one should be a scoffer from any Novi that comes over and says, I'm a Novi. And it should be done. But once he's proven, and we'll see exactly the modus operandi that happens, but once he's proven to be Novi Emes, so Memela, then there's an Isa. But until that point, there's no Ashola. So the Ashola is, as he says, Acha Sheneda Amitas Nevuas Hanovi. Sheyisapim behim. V'hu amu yisalu lo sinasu es Hashem Elokechem kasher nisisem b'mas. So l'chera, the Ram says that this lav, which talks about a priori nisoyin of Hashem, is talking about nisoyin of a Navi. That's what he says. Okay, now let's take it slow. Yehuda v'yichulav that's what Ibn Tibin does it. Ibn Eiv does it. Yehuda v'hatoivim v'roim. So it means good, telling the future that good things will happen or bad things will happen. I think it's the same thing in Kapach, Haftachoso v'yumov. It's positive things and negative things. So Haftacha is l'toiv and l'ra. That's what it is. And also later, Shiyadu v'yicholu oisonu, that's Ibn Tibin, Asher yudunu b'hem, okay, shemavtichen lonu oimayim olenu. So that's again kapach. It's this way, that way, it's both ways and both times that he mentions. Okay, besay. So Bekitzi is, the Ram is very clear that the lav is on the Dvar Hashem, not on the Rebbeinu Shem Kaviocha B'Chvoda Ba'atzmi. In Minyan HaKotz is mefurish like that. Shalom Nasois Dvar Hashem. Shenem lo Sinaso Hashem Hashem Elokech. In Mishnah Torah, in Yisrael Torah Perek Yud Halacha Hey, also saying things about the Novi. So the kids of the Ram say, the pasuk says Hashem, and it's Dvar Hashem. Period. That's what the Ram learns. Now, the next part is very simple. When he says Sheneda Amitas Nevuas Hanovi, Amitas Nevuas Hanovi. So you have to know that he's Novi Emes. The definition of a Novi Emes, the Ram says in Yisrael Torah, Perek Yud, Halacha Aleph and Beis, Kol Novi Shiamud Lonu, Vayomesh Hashem Sholcho, Eino Tzorach Laseis Ois, Ki Echroi Meois is Moshe Rabbeinu, B'chule. Elohim Eloi Im Novi Ato, Emo Dvorim Hu Asidim. The future, Asidim Liois, V'oimer, V'ono Mechakim Liois, Hayavo Dvorov Im Loi Lo Yavo. Either will happen or not. V'afilu Nochel Dover Choten V'yadua shu novi sheker. V'imbo dvov kulon. Yiyeh v'einenu ne'emon. U'boikin oisai pomim harbe. What do you mean pomim harbe? It's lo isnasu. So I guess until it's pomim harbe, he's not a novi ne'emon. He's not the novi emes. Im nimsu dvorov ne'emon and kulon. How is it novi emes? Como shenema b'shmuel v'yeda kol Yisrael midon v'ad Be'er Sheva hinemon shmuel novi Hashem. So the chayre is the lav is a very simple case where he is a nemon or is nemon. We know HaMitzvos, you can't ask any more questions. But until that point, that's what he's supposed to do. Because it's a very it's sin to say the truth because he doesn't say how many problems. Is it a chazaka? He says how. He says you do it how. He says the lashon is pomim harbe. So when is it a novi ne'emon, and when is the lav? Doesn't say how many times it's harbe.
Rebbe Rashbag, Chazaka.
I didn't. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't say that.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that. So the thing is, you see, since I think we learned that there were certain people, and we pointed out the Rambam and the Buchim, that they have the ability to tell the future. Okay. And he talked about how the Novi does it and how they do it and what the Chacham does, whatever. So it's certainly possible for once in a while for a person who's not a Novi to actually tell the future and it to come out, as he said. But time after time, it certainly won't happen. But how many times and how that happens, I don't know. But you see, the oddity is over here. See, I would have said, let me just read it. I just made a comment. I'm not sure what the answer to the comment is. You see, the last line that I read you in Perigura Alocha Beis, we say that Torah, he says, in Nimsu Dvom Nemon Kulon, how he's a Novi Emes, Kmo Shenema B'Shmuel, V'yeda Kol Yisrael, Bidon V'ad Be'er Sheva, Kim Nemon Shmuel Novi Hashem. So, you can imagine, Bidon V'ad Be'er Sheva, you might need 50 times. But, in order to, I'm not sure what's going to, see, it's very odd. See, the question is, all in the Nevi'im we know, Elisha, whether it was Chagai, Chavakuk, Vervesvos, everyone, it was done via Be'er Sheva. And everyone was, everyone held from them. So I'm not sure, you see, when you say Harbe Pomim, which is very nebulous, but the Don V'ad Be'er Sheva means that everyone all over is universally accepted. That, if that's the case, it's not a question. See, is it a question of the number of times, or is it a question of the universal acceptance? And a Novi who's known very clearly in a certain area, but it's not universally accepted over a wide geographical area, there's no lav. So that's the question. Is it a question of number of times, or is it a question of the geographical universal acceptance? Okay? But I only ask myself, how many Nevi'im reach that level, the Adon, the Be'er Sheva, like Shmuel Hanavi? So the lav is not, not solely by Shmuel or Moshe. Okay, let's go on. Now, the important thing is, so here, now, let me just open this up for a second. Yeah. Let's just recap. I want to read something to you. You see, she sape bohem is a little bit. I just wanted to tell you that she sape bohem is his nevuah, the nevuah that he the prophecy that he prophesizes, and in Kapach it goes like this: Oh, ma'im aleinu bohem nevio al derech hatolas safik bohem ache sheyodanu amitas nevuas asher hodia oisom. So it means that how do we test if he's a Novi or not? By what he says and if it came true. Okay? So that's what's happening. This to me is very odd, okay? Because if the Rambam had limited the discussion here into a Nevuah L'Teiv, so we know in the Torah that Nevuah L'Teiv is a way to test if Novi Emes or not. How will you know if he's Novi Emes or not? If it's Nevuah L'Teiv, it comes true. If not, he's Novi Hashek. Okay? So, but the Rambam mentions both here, both L'Teiv and L'Ra. And L'Ra is B'chlal, not a way of testing him. But if it's in the Nevuah L'Ra, it actually comes true. They'll do tshuva, so maybe the Saraya, and it could have been the other way. I'm not sure what happens over here. Before I go on, I want to ask you a very simple question, okay? A Novi comes and he says, I'm just going to say it in a very frivolous way. He says, he tells the person to walk a mile in direction north, okay? And he says the future, and the future comes true, okay? Now, is that the person supposed to walk the mitzvah of El Tishmon? Is it chal or is it not chal? So, the Ma'aseh Me'idah, or whether he hit or hakeh or lois hakeh, we don't know anything. Once he's a Novi, and he says what he's supposed to say, and we see what he said, it comes true. So we have to listen to him. Okay. It is true. I'm just gonna speak just off the cuff now. Okay. It is true, and if you want, we can look at the studio that under certain circumstances you have to be a Novi Nemon, otherwise you wouldn't listen. For example, to at the El of Tishmon, okay, but that's the sugya in Sanhedrin that kilu if it's this amis devolov, so then you have to listen to her. Or how did Yitzchak know to listen to Avram? The Gemara discusses each case separately. Okay, so I'm just wondering, there might be a mitzvah El Tishmon if he says to do X. You should do it. But the next time he doesn't see you start the whole process again because it's not a Novi Emes. No, how does all this work? Because this whole discussion on the Nasais is just shouldn't, but you're allowed to do every time he says to do X, and he gives you an ice. So, or he's not ice, so he tells you in the future you can menasa him, okay? But even if, because it says Kate said Yeda, that if you know me or not, but is it possible to say that the same until you're not allowed to menasa him? There's no mitzvah tishmon. So how does all this play itself out? Because the Gemara only talks about peculiar cases where he's basically Yitzchak is committing suicide by letting Avram do a shechita on him. How did he go up on the altar? He shouldn't have. So he says that Avram was a Novi Emes or something like that, or Eliyahu Bar Carmel. How did he do shchut chutz, halos chutz, whatever? But stam of tishmon, that's what I was just wondering. Okay. Now, so now let's just do this thing over here. So he says, he said, Al Sad she is topic for him. Okay. So is he allowed to mahari that maybe this is a Novi Sheker? But he's just not to menasa him because he says he shouldn't do so nasas you the outside of Suffolk. But if he's allowed to doubt him, we just shouldn't be menasa him. That's the lav nasas. So there's no Isa to menasa. But Mishnah Torah, the Rambam's Mefuish is an Isa. There's an Isa to mistapik. But he doesn't say what the Isa is. He doesn't say that if it's because of the lab or not. Look at the Rambam, he say the Torah, Perigir al-Chaches, B'chein l'Deris, Novi shenoid in the voice of Emina b'dvor, Pam achapam, Pam achapam. I don't know how many, Pam achapam. Oh, Shehid, loy Novi, V'hoya hoylech, B'dalke hanavur, also lachshev achlo, lachashev achlo, ulahar b'nivose, shemeino emes. It means the etzem machshov is a problem. Where does it say when the lav? Then he says, "V'yosan naseisai, yosemidai, whatever yosemidai is." V'loniye hochim u'menasim lo'ilo. That's very. He wants to make it even more confusing. Shenemo lo'isnasa shem elokechem kasher nisisim b'masa she'omu hayesh Hashem b'kibenim oyin elo mi'acha shenoida sheze novi yaminu v'yedu ki Hashem b'kilbom v'lo yaharu v'lo yachshvu achlo ki inyan shenema v'yedu ki novi hoya b'seichom. So if it's very crystal clear to everyone, but what's the Isa Mahare? Is it a separate Isa? Is it the Lavaloi Sanasu? It's the Ram doesn't say that it's the Lavaloi Sanasu because he mentioned it separately. On the other hand, where's the Isa from? It's not from Sanasu. Okay? That's what we have in Mishnah. Now, I want to have the sequel to this. I'm not saying this is the Kosel HaShlishi, but you listen to it and you'll decide yourself. Okay? Here is the Rambam's son in his Sefer Maspik Li'ovdei Hashem, in the his discussion about Bitochen. I'll just read a quote. But the gist of it, I think, is, and you'll decide yourself if it's right or not, that Baharir, Amitas Hanovi, is also, even without Manasseh, is also B'chlal Olam. He writes like this: V'oid holech oladas, ki kol dovo shebo mimeno yis'ale al yidei neviov hane'emon chayiv, or al yidei nevi'oi hane'emon is chayiv kol ma'amin liois batuach bahasogosoi lelo shum sofek. Ulchein yotza ketzef al bnei Yisrael she'af ki hoidiam Hashem Yis'ale es devar ashkochosoi aleim v'rou ma shenemo asher ayin b'ayin nira ato Hashem v'chulei b'chol zois hitilu sveikos v'nisu es hashkocho כמו שכוסף ויקרא שם המוקם מסו ומריבו על ריב בני ישראל ונשאיסם אס השם, לאמור יש השם בקיבני מוין, והוזרו שלחסה על דובו, כמו שכוסף לא ישנס השם אלוקך כאשר ניסו מסו, כלומר, בדבר הנובי, שניסו לכם מאיתו יסעלה, ונסעמסו נבואסוי, חיוב מאתם להאמין, ולחשב לדובו אמס, כמו שלימדנו המסורת בביאו הפוסק הזה. So, Chayiv, so I'm not sure. You get the impression that the fact that he doesn't believe is a problem, but I'm not sure 100%. You can look at yourself and decide, but that's the issue. Here I would have said the problem in Mishnah Sefer HaMitzvos is only in the Zion itself is the problem. But the Soyer, based on the premise that he may not be an OVMs. Now, but the problem is the mashmos of the Torah is in the Soyer HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not in the Novi. So the Ramban learns somewhat like the Rambam, that there's ashara to Manasseh the Novi, but the Ramban says that someone who's Manasseh a Novi Emes, he's be'etzem being Manasseh HaKadosh Baruch Chavioch. And he wants to explain, what he wants to do is explain the Kol K'pshutai, that a person who's Manasseh Novi is really Manasseh Hashem. The Ramban involved Tezayin, ונחשב להם לאובן גודל, כי אחרי שנסעמס אצלנו, אצלם באויסס המויסים, כי מוישה נובי השם. ודבר השם בפיו אמס, אין רואי לעשויס עוד שום דובו לניסויון. ואויסה כן, אינו מנסה הנובי, רק השם יסבורך הוא מנסה. L'das hayesh hayar Hashem tiksa. Okay, and then he says, "Ulchein osa l'derus l'nasus hatiro o hanevim ki ein roi lavod Hashem al derech hasofan histapek oy shelas moifes v'nisoyon." So he's adding things which have to be discussed with the show. But even, you see, he basically saying that the lav might express as Novi, but it's really Nisayon Hashem. And Novi is one of the cases that is Nisayon Hashem. We'll speak Mitzvah more about this. And this, I'd like to point out that the Kadmoinim learn Kipshutai that the love to Minasa Kodesh Baruch. Let's start one. We'll see exactly how many we'll be able to do. The Sefer HaMitzvos Sadigoy, Shar Perek Aleph, Shar Avodas Hashem, on page 12 in the edition that was just published. Vashminis Shamamin Lo Yinase Elokov B'Oimoi Hayim Hashem Hu Bal Yechilis B'Dovazer Oiloi Lo Yisanasu Es Hashem Elokecha. The question of the B'Oilish Bal Yechilis, but he's Menasa Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Radak learns like this also in Shoftim, Perek Vov, Pasuk Lamates, but he says it B'Shem Sadigoin. So I'm not sure if I'm adding anything to this. In Sefer Yereim and the Smag, the Ashora is to Menasa Kodesh Baruch Hu Aschal Mitzvahs. And the other one, the Rapsadi Goin says that is the Rebbeinu Shalom Bal Yechilis, or he's not. In Sefer, Shari Tshuva, Rabbeinu Yoina, in Shar Gimel Ois Lamed, in Sefer Dvov, he says Nisoyin Schar Mitzvahs is B'chal Olav also. So you have the option that it's Nisoyin of Nevi'ah, which is the Rambam. You have Nisoyin of HaKodesh Baruch Hu B'chol B'atzmai if he's Yochol or Eino Yochol, and there's Nisoyin of Schar Mitzvahs. Then the Radak adds a whole new layer on this love, and he says that we know that the Gemara talks about also Lismach al Nes. So also Lismach al Nes, a person Semach al Nes, it violates the law of Loisanasa as Hashem. Listen to this Radak. The Radak in Bereshis, Perek Yud Beis, Pasuk Yud Beis. In Vohoya Kiyiro Iso Chamitzrim. Okay. You know, so why did Avram Semach on this? Why did he just, why did he give all these instructions? Well, he samach al avtochas hokel shev tichoy, he oma shem yigamachet b'chein pochad Yaakov, ovinu acha avtochas hokel, b'chein roi l'chol tzadik, shelo lismoich b'mokrim sakona al anes, v'yishmo atzmoi b'chol tachbula asher yuchal, v'al zeh oma shloimi ashri odom mefachet omid, v'chein omu chachomim v'zechein levocha minayin shein simcha al anes, shenema lo yisnasu es Hashem Elokech. V'chein, the Radak is in Gracious Membeis Pasuk Dalet, the Radak in Shoftim involved Lamates, the Radak in Shmuel, Aleph, Perek Tezayin, Pasuk Beis, and also Sefer Chovos HaLevavos, Shar Dalet, Shar B'tochin Perek Dalet. V'chein ein royally orderly kones v'sakones b'bitchunoi al gzeres v'shishi b'beteich al gzeres abere v'yishte same moves, he drinks poison, or yisakin b'atzmo l'lochem im ho'ari, fight the lion, v'achayis alois l'loi deichek, or shiyashlech atzmo b'yam, or b'eish v'adoyma l'zeh mima she'ein odam batuach b'hem v'yisakin b'nafshay וכבר הזהירנו הכוסף מזה, במה שאומר לא ישנס השם אלוקיך. או צדיקים also שהשמחו דירמסך בתוכן דירמסך בתוכן הראשון, והמכניס עצמו בסכנה ואומר, אני בטוח בהשם ישבח, עליו נאמר כסיל מסעבה ובוטח, והתורה הזהירנו על זה, כמו שאומר השם אלוקיך. והמכניס עצמו לידי סכנה והמס עצמו עונש גדול וכולי וכולי. And the Rashbetz and always Perek Mishneh also the same type of thing. Okay, Mitzvah Shem will pick this up next week. Matzlocha.